need you to listen to me very carefully. Because I have been trying to tell someone, anyone, for a very long time. And no one can hear me. The house at the end of Meridian Road has been abandoned for 11 years. Everyone in town knows to stay away from it. Everyone except us. We went in on a Friday night. There were 4 of us. Only 3 of us walked back out. They said I was the one who made it home. They were wrong. My name is Maya. I was 16 years old and I thought I was invincible. Most 16-year-olds do. It's the lie your body tells you before the world corrects it. It was October. My best friend Jade had dared me, dared all of us, to spend 1 hour inside the Caldwell house. That was what everyone called it. The Caldwell house. Named after the family that vanished from it 11 years ago. Vanished. Not moved. Not died. Vanished. No bodies were ever found. No forwarding address. One morning the Caldwells were there and the next morning they simply weren't. The cereal bowls were still on the table. The TV was still on. The front door was wide open. There were 4 of us. Me, Jade, who had the loudest laugh and the worst ideas. Daniel, Jade's older brother, who drove us there and swore he wasn't scared. And Priya, who had been researching the Caldwell disappearance for a school project and should have known better than anyone to stay away. Priya brought a voice recorder. Jade brought a flashlight and a bag of chips. Daniel brought absolutely zero respect for the paranormal. I brought nothing. I didn't think I would need anything. The gate was unlocked. That was the first thing that felt wrong. Everyone in town said it was always padlocked. But that night it just swung open. Like it had been waiting for us. The front door was the same. Jade barely touched the handle and it opened. Smooth, no resistance, no creak. Like something on the other side had pulled it. We should have left. We laughed instead. Inside the air was different. Thick. Like breathing through a damp cloth. The wallpaper was peeling in long ribbons, the floorboards were warped and gray, and every single room was covered in a fine layer of dust, except for one trail of footprints. Fresh ones. Leading up the stairs. Who else is in here? Priya whispered. Nobody answered. But something shifted upstairs. Something heavy, slow, deliberate. Like it had heard her. Daniel went first because of course he did. He was 18 and thought that made him bulletproof. Jade followed. Then Priya. Then me, always last, always watching behind us. The upstairs hallway had 5 doors. 4 of them were closed. One, the last one at the very end of the hall, was not only open but had no door at all. Just a black rectangle. And from inside that rectangle came the faintest sound. A child's voice. Counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. It stopped at 4 and there were 4 of us. Daniel said it was just kids messing with us. Someone had snuck in before us, he said. But when we reached the doorway and shone the flashlight in, the room was empty. Completely empty except for a single item in the center of the floor. A music box. Old, ornate, painted with flowers that had faded to gray. Its lid was open. It was playing. But no one had wound it. Priya immediately started recording on her voice recorder. Jade crouched down to look at the music box. Daniel leaned against the doorframe. And I stood still, because I felt something I could not explain. The sensation that there was someone directly behind me. Breathing on my neck. Except there was no breath, just cold. Spreading cold, creeping down my spine. And then Jade touched the music box. Everything happened in less than 3 seconds. The music box snapped shut. Every window in the house blew open simultaneously. Glass shattering, curtains ripping. A sound filled the room like every frequency at once. A roar and a whisper and a scream layered into one. And then, darkness. Total, sudden darkness. When the flashlight came back on, Daniel was pressed flat against the far wall, wide-eyed, unable to speak. Priya was clutching her recorder, shaking. Jade was standing perfectly still in the center of the room. Her eyes were closed. She was smiling. Jade. I said her name. She didn't respond. Jade. I grabbed her shoulder and she opened her eyes. They were wrong. The color was wrong. Where her dark brown irises had been, white. Pure flat white. And she turned to look at me and said in a voice that was not hers. You shouldn't be here either, Maya. We ran. Daniel grabbed Jade. Whatever had taken over her body seemed confused by that, stumbled, grabbed for the doorframe. We didn't stop. Down the hallway, down the stairs, through the living room. I ran faster than I had ever run in my life. Behind us, the voice, the thing using Jade's voice, was laughing. Not chasing us. Not rushing. It was laughing, calm and high and musical, like this was the most entertaining thing it had seen in 11 years. As maybe it was. We hit the front door. It wouldn't open. Daniel threw himself against it, rattled the handle, slammed his palms against it. Nothing. Priya screamed. I turned around. Jade was at the bottom of the stairs. Walking towards us slowly, head tilted, that smile still spread wrong across her face. It was Priya who kept her head. She yanked her voice recorder from her pocket and hit play, the recording she had made upstairs. Static at first. Then voices. Not ours. The Caldwells. It was unmistakably a family. A mother, a father, children. Their voices layered over each other, whispering the same sentence on repeat. Priya had read about this in her research. She knew what it meant. The entity couldn't exist in the presence of its previous victims' voices. It was tethered to them. She held the recorder towards Jade. And we watched the thing inside our friend recoil. Physically recoil, twisting backwards, hands flying up as if burned. Priya walked towards Jade with the recorder held out. Step by step. The entity, whatever it was, whatever had lived in that house for 11 years and taken the Caldwells and never found a way out. It screamed. It convulsed Jade's body. It slammed her into the walls. And then Daniel kicked the front door, and this time it opened. Like whatever had been holding it had let go. All its attention was on Priya. The three of them ran. Daniel dragging Jade, whose eyes had gone back to normal, who was barely conscious. Priya still holding the recorder to the open doorway, the voices pouring out into the night like a flood. I ran with them. Right behind them. I could feel the cold at my back, something reaching, clawing, and then I was out. I was through the door. I was on the gravel path in the night air, and the house was behind me and the gate was in front of me. We made it. All four of us. We made it out. The days after were strange. Daniel didn't speak for almost 48 hours. Jade remembered nothing from the moment she touched the music box to the moment she found herself on the front path with cold air on her face. Priya wrote everything down, every detail, every sound, every moment. Like if she documented it precisely enough it would make sense. I was there for all of it. I sat with Jade while she cried. I listened to Daniel stare at the wall. I read everything Priya wrote. I was present for every conversation, every sleepless night, every time one of them flinched at a sudden noise or refused to be alone in the dark. I was there. But something felt different. Something felt removed. Like watching the world through a pane of glass. Like being in a room with the volume turned down slightly, the colors slightly dimmed. I told myself it was trauma. I told myself it would pass. It didn't pass. I noticed it first with mirrors. My reflection was always a half-second behind. Not noticeably, not so anyone else would see it. Just enough that I would catch it in the corner of my eye and feel a cold spike of wrong. Then I noticed that strangers didn't look at me on the street. Not in the way people avoid eye contact. In the way people look straight through a window. Like I wasn't registering. Like I wasn't producing enough presence. And then, the worst one. I tried to call my mom. To just hear her voice. The phone rang 6 times and she answered and I said, "Mom, it's me. It's Maya." And she said, "I'm sorry, who is this?" It was Priya who figured it out. Of course it was. It was always going to be Priya. She had been reviewing her documentation. Notes, timelines, the recorder audio. And she found a gap of 43 seconds between when she heard the front door open and when she saw Daniel and Jade emerge onto the path. She had assumed I was already outside. She had assumed Daniel had pulled me through. She went back to the house. In the upstairs hallway, right outside the room with the music box, Priya found a handprint. Small. A teenage girl's hand. Pressed into the dust on the wall. And on Priya's voice recorder, the full audio from that night, she could hear everything. Our footsteps, our voices, the chaos, the screaming. And when she listened to the part where we all ran out, she heard 3 sets of footsteps on the gravel. Not 4. 3. She called Daniel. He came. And she made him listen. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but we've been listening to her this whole time. She's been narrating. She's been here. I know. I've been here. I've been here this entire time. But here is the thing about the entity in the Caldwell house. Priya worked it out eventually. After weeks of research and sleepless nights and a meeting with a paranormal researcher who had studied the property in 2003. The entity doesn't just possess the living. It feeds on the newly dead. Keeps them. Like a collector. It takes your soul the moment it has the chance, severs it from your body, and then it puts you back. Hollow, walking, breathing on reflex, crossing back out into the world. My body made it out of the house. I did not. They burned the music box eventually. Priya and Daniel and Jade, they went back, the three of them, and they burned the music box and they salted the room and they did everything the researcher told them to do. They thought it would free me. They believed it would. Maybe it would have. If they had gotten the right room. But the music box was not the source. The music box was the lure. I know that now. I've had a long time to understand this place. To understand what the Caldwells understood. Why they stopped fighting eventually. Why they went quiet. The entity doesn't have a name. It doesn't have a form. It has a house. And the house is full. I want you to know, and this is the most important thing I will ever say. If you are watching this and you can hear me, really hear me, then I need you to understand that I have been trying to reach someone for a very long time. This video. This story. This is not a narrator speaking from safety. This is not a story that ended well. This is a message from inside the house. And the gate is still unlocked.